all this talk. Stop all this talk about I'm a Baptist, I'm a Methodist, I'm an Episcopalian, I'm a Jehovah's Witness, I'm a Church of God in Christ, I'm holiness, I'm Pentecostal. Stop that kind of talk. Jesus never spoke like that. Speak as he spoke. These are your denominations. These are your divisions. Prophet Muhammad never said he was Sunni. He gave us the Sunnah. He never said he was Shiite, but through his daughter Fatima, he had Hussein and Hassan. Come on.
Is there any solutions? Like, and we know all the problems, we know all the issues, everybody woke. What do black people in America do?
Here's the situation. Until we hate racism more than we hate each other, nothing's going to change. See, our problem is totally mental. We're $1 trillion people. We got all the degrees we need, all the expertise. But you know what we're lacking? That cultural commitment to ourselves. We're the only group who don't have it.
I was going to say that it almost feels like before we could fight racism, we have to fight self-hate.
Yeah.
Hello brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and I hope you are doing good from wherever you're watching this video from. Now in this particular video, I want to talk specifically to us black people, because too often we allow small cultural differences, regional prides, and historical misunderstandings divide us. And we often fall into categories like we are Africans, we are African Americans, we are Afro-Caribbeans, or we are Afro-Europeans. And yes, we come from different parts, but we have a common destination. The destination is the same, whether we like it or we don't. It is the unity and the liberation of black people. And in many of my videos, I often say, until that particular time when Africa as a continent and as a people commands the respect it deserves, that is the only time all the black people around the world shall be united. So I want us to watch these videos that I have prepared for you here, talking about the same. And at the end of this, I am going to give my take on the same. So let's go for it.
I believe that Ibrahim Traore is the perfect example of why the American establishment does not want African Americans to see their liberation as intimately intertwined with the liberation of the African people. Because what are just some benefits that African Americans could receive from a liberated, united Africa? Imagine a liberated, united Africa being able to tell the U.S., hey, sure, we'll allow you access to these resources that you want so badly. However, you have to do X, Y, Z for your African American and black community. You want our copper and gold? Okay, yeah. So let's talk about housing for black people. Imagine that Africa has control over its resources. It is overflowing with wealth. And it is like, hey, African Americans, black people of the world, if you feel that you are mistreated as a population in your country, you could have a new home here. But they want African Americans to be isolated from black people outside of empire, because it makes us easier prey to exploit. In the reality that they've created, if resources is money and money is power, who would have more power than the African continent? To empower Africa is to empower all black people around the world, and they know this.
The world as we know is gradually becoming something else. It has become, but it's becoming another thing. If you watch closely to what is happening around, and then you see for yourselves that the only way out for the melanated beings is unity, is togetherness. We just have to come together and pull away all this apathy, all this hate amongst ourselves, which they stir up. You heard that? They create chaos and capitalize on the chaos. We have to quietly try our best to tolerate one another to foster unity.
No way in the world that white people can free black people, because freedom is not white people's to give. Two, white people, as I said in the piece, cannot do for us what we refuse to do for ourselves. Whether or not whites like blacks or blacks like whites, I frankly have no interest in that at all. I have no interest in managed society. I'm not interested in having to sit next to people because they're white. I'm interested in being equal. And the only way you're equal is to have power. Not whether or not white people have been fair, not whether they're nice people, not whether or not black people are good or bad, but whether or not you as a community of people have the instruments of defense and in some cases of aggression to protect your turf and or your interests. You can't have 30 million people handing over to another people 100% of their resources and blaming them for 100% of their problems. That is not intelligent. So what we need to do in the black community is A, decide to be competitive. And the only way we're going to be competitive is to use our resources.
Is there any solutions? Like, is there, and cause we know all the problems, we know all the issues, everybody woke. What do black people in America do?
Here's the situation. Until we hate racism more than we hate each other, nothing's going to change. See, our problem is totally mental. We're $1 trillion people. We got all the degrees we need, all the expertise. But you know what we're lacking? That cultural commitment to ourselves. We're the only group who don't have it.
I was going to say that it almost feels like before we could fight racism, we have to fight self-hate.
Yeah. You're going to have a civil war.
Because we don't necessarily support ourselves. You know,
Not at all.
We don't help each other.
Martin Luther King didn't get killed because of I had a dream. He had something else he was going to talk about: black empowerment, economic empowerment. When I did the Forbes and I showed them the $890 million receipt and they still didn't say billionaire, they don't want us to know that we can buy land. They don't want us to have the 100% ownership. And the reason why I say these things out loud in this way is so I won't be killed. I said it out loud already. This is what. But last year, I was killed by the press for having a difference. Not having a difference in opinion, for having an opinion. When y'all read the headlines, Kanye's crazy, this is that, this, that. It's like 1 in 3 African Americans are in jail. And all the celebrities are in jail also, because they can't say nothing. They have no opinion. They're so scared.
Don't kill me, but I feel like that whole fight for civil rights movement that they depict during Black History Month and throughout history in itself is a microaggression. Because we're fighting to be equal, but what are we fighting to be equal to? Not our oppressors. Not the individuals that didn't want to educate us, so we have to educate ourselves. Not the individuals that didn't want to fund us, so we have to fund ourselves. Not the individuals that couldn't protect us, so we have to protect ourselves. Couldn't want to have been like those individuals. Because why would we want to do that when we did everything that they didn't want us to do, and we're still better off than them, in a sense? Which is why they resort to more so violence than anything else. So to sit in these schools and put in these textbooks that although slavery was bad, you guys fought tooth and nail to be a part of us and be one with us, in itself is an insult. Because fuck is we talking about? I know my ancestors, descendants of kings and queens, royalty, didn't fight, didn't die in a sense to be a second-class citizen, if that. And with what we know about history, about certain things being watered down and certain things being hyped up, I just feel like their interpretation wasn't the actual reality. But it's funny, because you see how they hype up the civil rights movement, but they don't hype up the Pan-African movement, which was everybody getting back up and moving to Africa, headed by Mr. Marcus Garvey himself, along with Mr. W.E.B. Du Bois and others. But I can go on for hours about this. Let's look at it like this, right? From what we've seen and known about history, the oppressed always goes above and beyond to protect their culture and where they come from, their principles, their way of life, so to speak. So why would we fight to adapt to your ways when we have ways of our own?
But once we get that understanding, we must still have a collective identity, because it has already been forced upon us and larger society. Because just like it doesn't matter if you're an African American from Ohio, from Mississippi, California, you walk into that store, there's a chance that you're going to get followed around in that store. Same thing, you could be African. They going to follow you around in that store. Your communities are going to have certain cultural traits as well. And so collectively, we need to hold on to.
So as a black person, we have to understand what the mission was. The mission was to de-unify the black community, because the stronger they come together, the more they come together, the stronger they are.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
When black people wake up and become intellectually independent enough to think for themselves, as other humans are intellectually independent enough to think for themselves, then the black man will think like a black man, and he will feel for other black people. And this new thinking and feeling will cause black people to stick together. And then at that point, you'll have a situation where when you attack one black man, you are attacking all black men. And this type of black thinking will cause all black people to stick together. And this type of thinking also will bring an end to the brutality inflicted upon black people by white people. And it is the only thing that will bring an end to it. No federal court, state court, or city court will bring an end to it. It's something that the black man has to bring an end to himself.
Stop all this talk. Stop all this talk about I'm a Baptist, I'm a Methodist, I'm an Episcopalian, I'm a Jehovah's Witness, I'm a Church of God in Christ, I'm holiness, I'm Pentecostal. Stop that kind of talk. Jesus never spoke like that. Speak as he spoke. He was baptized, but he wasn't a Baptist. Talk to me. He never said he was a Methodist. He said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. He never said, I'm a Catholic. He said, I am the light of the world, meaning I'm universal. He never said, I'm a Jehovah's Witness, but it's a fact he was the witness of Jehovah. No question about it. He never said, I'm holy. He said, if the first fruit is holy, then the lump is also holy. He never said, I'm Pentecostal, but without Jesus appearing before the disciples, there wouldn't be any day of Pentecost. These are your denominations. These are your divisions. Prophet Muhammad never said he was Sunni. He gave us the Sunnah. He never said he was Shiite, but through his daughter Fatima, he had Hussein and Hassan. Come on. He never said he was Hanafi, Sufi. That's your stuff. Be what he was. He was a Muslim. He submitted his will to do the will of God. Be what Jesus was. Jesus never said, I'm a Christian. Not one time. He never called his disciples Christians. Did you know that? They were called Christians at Antioch by the enemies of Jesus. Jesus said, not my will, but thy will be done. He submitted his will to do the will of God. Come on. So let us do that. Stop all this division and let's come together as a family and love each other and respect each other and work for the good of each other, uphold each other in right, and above all, respect and protect and honor your women. Respect, protect, and honor your women. And to the white students, if you will sit down with these black students in an honest dialogue, without hypocrisy,
maybe tomorrow you might make better sense than tonight. Maybe after hearing what Farrakhan had to say, it didn't necessarily drive you further apart. You already apart. Maybe it gave you something, a basis upon which to start an honest dialogue. And through dialogue, maybe you might learn to respect each other. And as I said on the Donahue show, white students, think about it. You didn't come in a vacuum. You study biology. And you learn Mendel's law. You know that dark skin is dominant and light skin is recessive. No, this ain't no black supremacy. Just that the truth is supreme. You know that dark eyes are dominant and light eyes are recessive. And you teach that you can get the recessive from the dominant. But you can't get the dominant from the recessive. So two white people can only produce white. You can never produce yellow. It's just not in your genetic makeup to do that. It's a biological, mathematical impossibility. But the black man can produce from jet black people an albino with blonde hair and light eyes, showing you that in us is the whole human family of the earth. And from the black man, whom the Honorable Elijah Muhammad called the original people of the earth. That's why you're black. You're not black because you're cursed. You're black because you are the original life in the universe. Yes. Yes. You say, I can't believe it. And I thought I was black and ugly. No, no. You are black and beautiful because you are original. Just be yourself. Don't try to be white people. Be you. Fall in love with you. Jesus said, love your neighbor as who? Yourself. So you can't love your neighbor if you don't love yourself. So fall in love with yourself, then maybe you'll be able to love your neighbor. And since you don't live in nobody else's neighborhood, I guess your neighbor looks just like yourself. Well, thank you for inviting me. I know I stayed all night, but may God bless you all. Thank you, Illinois State University. Thank you, black students. May Allah bless you as I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
I have a theory about why black women and white women are having such a hard time getting along, and it starts with a story. When I first started teaching, I was in a teacher training program with 3 other women. 2 of them were black and 1 of them was Indian, and we started teaching at the same school, the same grade, at the same time. One of these women, a black woman, completely excelled. She did so much better than I did at literally everything. Classroom management, her test scores were high. She was excellent at literally everything. And something about her excellence didn't sit right with me. I just didn't feel good about it, and I couldn't figure out why I didn't feel good about it. It was internalized racism, but I didn't know that yet. So I had to sit with this idea of her being better than me and trying to figure out why it didn't feel good and feel comfortable for me. And of course, at the time, I didn't know that I needed to do the work of anti-racism, so I didn't think it was possibly because I could have internalized racism. I had to do a lot of study and thought about myself and what could possibly be making me feel this way about this woman. And here's what I discovered. Most of the media that I had consumed up to that point in my life had white people as the central characters. And the shows and other media that I consumed that had white women at the central characters often had black women as the side characters. These black women's role in these movies was to assist the white women, support the white women, advise the white women, but never to rise above the white women. Even shows that were about black women, like The Help, had white women as the central character and the black women as supporting characters. So I internalized the idea that black women were there to support me and to advise me, but not to rise above or become better than me. And that's why when this black teacher was way better and more talented than me, I felt some kind of way about it. Now, I'd imagine lots and lots more white women have also internalized the same idea, and that's why they feel okay stealing black women's content and not giving them any credit, because the black women are just there to advise them anyway. But most black women are natural leaders. Society has forced them to become leaders. And so we need to step aside and let them lead. Even if it means checking our privilege and letting them lead us.
Accurate history is teaching white Americans how white slave owners raped, beat, humiliated, mutilated, murdered, and cannibalized their slaves. Accurate history is teaching that George Washington's false teeth were made out of his slaves' teeth. Accurate history is teaching that Abraham Lincoln may have said some words and signed some shit, but he did not physically do anything to free the slaves. The white abolitionists also often get almost total credit for freeing the slaves. I bet you've never even asked yourself what the slaves were doing to free themselves, and the answer to that is most of the fucking work, including giving the ultimatum of war. But then we get a bunch of white people mad that their kids might feel guilty if we teach real history. It's not about your white child's feelings. Teaching accurate history isn't about white people's feelings, but that does sound like something that someone who's only ever been taught a white glorifying version of history would counter with. Ask why we ever felt like we needed to curate a false version of what white people did and did not do to black people to begin with. And then ask yourself why white-ass politicians are verbally attacking real history by calling it slurs, which is, by default, also the act of calling black people slurs.
Okay, well, this is what we're talking about here. And some common examples of these subtle divisions that sometimes we come across most of the times is when Africans calling African Americans lost. Then we have African American accusing Africans of say selling them into slavery. Then we have maybe the Caribbean blacks or the Afro-Caribbeans feeling like they're getting overlooked in Pan-African conversations and dialogues. And then maybe we have Africans in the diaspora being always told, you're not black enough. You are not integrating into the wider black communities when you come from your home countries. And these might sometimes just seem like they're small, harmless cultural jokes. But what we don't realize is these are small cracks in the foundation of our global black house, and that eventually subconsciously continue to grow, and they shake the very foundation of our blackness. Every time we draw these little lines, we weaken the ability for us to move together as a united front. And I would just love to also give credit where it's due, and with the political situation as it is in Africa currently, We have seen, I have personally witnessed a lot of black people, African Americans, and even people, black people from the Caribbeans and the Afro-Europeans coming out, showing solidarity with Africans and standing with and for Africa. Look at what is happening with the situation with Captain Ibrahim Traore, for example. You know, all black people, like a united, unified front of black people, have come out to stand for and with him. You know, that is regardless of whether you're African American, from the Caribbean, or from Europe, but black people have spoken in one voice, and most of them have said, hands off Africa, hands off Burkina Faso, hands off, you know, Captain Ibrahim Traore, hands off the resources of black people. And that is exactly what we need as a black people, because you know, the enemy doesn't care whether you are African or African American or Afro-Caribbean or Afro-European. You know, as long as you are black, as long as you are black, and like you have heard from those videos, you're going to go into that Walmart in America, and there is a chance that you're going to be, you know, followed around. They don't care whether you are an African American or an African, but you're going to get the same treatment. Another thing, we have seen what is happening with the situation with in South Africa, where a white supremacist government led by Donald Trump is handpicking white people, calling them refugee, giving them false refugee status, just so they can get that ticket to go to America and start a life in which they envisage a white-only society in that country of America. And that is at the same time refusing to give asylum status to other people across the world, regardless of whether they are black or brown, that really deserve that, you know, that privilege, that offer of being, taken in as, refugees in America. He cut all channels of taking in refugees that are being persecuted for political reasons, for religious reasons, or for, any other reason, from, say, countries that are disturbed in Africa. Look at Sudan. You can look at South Sudan, Somalia, Democratic Republic of Congo. Those are countries that can actually say they have a genocide. Look at situations in in the Middle East, in Iraq, in Afghanistan. I mean, we have people that deserve that asylum in the United States of America. But what does white imperialism do? They create a white conspiracy theory of a white genocide, and they come and handpick people that don't even want to leave Africa and try to take them all the way to give them status, to give them a space to live in America, in a society that they would wish to be the only ones, And that is a lesson we have to learn. And we have been subjected to this for a very long time, and we continuously refuse as black people to really understand and learn from the enemy. Because the reason is that very enemy is the one that sowed that seed of division amongst us, amongst black people, because they knew that when we are united, then it is going to be very hard to defeat black people. So the first thing they did is the divide and rule tactic, which they have successfully used on us as black people to fragment us and then oppress each and every category individually. See what is happening with African Americans at the hands of white imperialism in America. Look at what is happening to black people in the Caribbean, what they are doing to Haitians, what they are doing to Cubans, what they are doing to Jamaicans. Individually, they single you out as the Caribbeans and they oppress you. They single you out as African Americans and they oppress you. Look at what is happening to Africa and the pillaging of African resources by, the same white people from America and from Europe. They single out Africa and they incite brothers against, and sisters against each other. Now, we don't stand together. We get oppressed as Africa, all on our own. African Americans, all on their own. But the point is, if you look at it, the same people are united. A minority united is very strong than a majority that is fragmented. And that is why they have all the power. They are a minority globally. White people are, and in fact, white imperialists are even a smaller minority, but they are very powerful. Where do they get their power from? Their power emanates from their strong unity in their little cocoon. And that is now why the call is very strong, and we need to listen to the fighters of the struggle in Africa, in the Caribbeans, in America. We have movements that have been there that have been calling for a unity, the unity of black people. And because when we unite, we shift economies, we change elections, we push our culture forward, we influence global conversations. And imagine if we stopped arguing over who is more black and started building on the foundation that we, all of us, are black. Unity doesn't mean we forget our unique stories. And unity doesn't mean a neighborhood, a unity of neighborhood. I mean, living together. We can live in different parts of the world, but still a united people. It means we honor each other's roots while building on that common tree. Pan-Africanism isn't about erasing identity. It is actually about leveraging in the collective power of all black people. Again, I want to say, until Africa is respected, all black people would never be respected globally. So, and black people, our enemies, don't care whether you call yourself African or African American or Caribbean or Afro-European. As long as you're black, you're subjected to the same kind of treatment. And we have to save ourselves from this. Nobody else is coming to save us. We have ourselves to help ourselves. That is a message for you today in this video. Do share what you think, your comments, your opinions, and your thoughts in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, the message, and subscribe to the channel. So until next time, I'll be happy to see you in my next video. Peace out.